Bruce, do you want to give us a quick summary on what's happening generally for landlords, please, sir?
Yeah, I've got a few little bits that I've dug out just to kind of jog people's minds. First off, I would like to let everybody know that we've now managed to get something in place for joining the NRLA. If you go onto their website and onto their recruitment link, it asks for a code, and I've put it up in the chat. If you type in NEL21, that will then link you with North East Landlords as well, and we'll get the credit for that. So please, everybody, use the link. EPCs, just really to make everybody aware. Obviously, we're now at the point where you have to be an E rating or better. It's almost certain that this is going to go up to C or better in the near future. They're looking at from 2025, any new tenancies will have to be a C, and then from 2028, existing ones will have to be a C. My advice to anybody would be to look at your EPCs that you have, check the dates on them, because I do know one or two who hadn't realized that the EPC they had expired, because they only last for 10 years, and see what you can do to increase the ratings. Don't leave it until the last minute. A, it'll be more expensive, and B, you'll have more difficulty getting contractors to do the work. Within the plans, they are looking at increasing the penalties, which at the moment is £5,000 if you are letting a property out that's E or F or worse. They're going to increase that up to 30,000. So it's something that landlords need to really be careful about. And they're also
Bruce, sorry to interject. Can I just add in? I've spoke to 3 lenders in the last 3 months who are all probably going to be adding it into their criteria on remortgage or purchase. So not just purchase, remortgage as well, that you provide an up-to-date EPC to check the rating before they'll allow the mortgage.
Yeah. So, you know, the advice to anybody is look at trying to make your property as energy efficient as possible. They're going to create a new database for rented properties so that they can monitor it. Councils are going to get the power to go out and inspect properties. There's a lovely thought for those of you with properties in Newcastle. And then they're also looking at giving tenants powers to request improvements and the right to claim damages where you're in default. And it's going to be sort of ongoing with that. So it is very much something that you need to look at sooner rather than later, would be my advice. Just a quick one for those of you who operate your properties through a limited company. Notwithstanding everything that Martin has told us about tonight, you also have a requirement under the Companies Act of 2006 that any documents signed, statutory documents, need to be signed by 2 directors or a director and a company secretary in front of a witness. Now, up till now, it's not really been clear if this is applying to forms that you issue for the court. One of the things that has come out, there's been a recent court case, and they have said that the Section 8 didn't have to be signed in that way. However, the deposit protection certificates should be, and if they aren't done in accordance with the Companies Act requirements, then you may well find that when you get to court, your application for possession of the property is going to get rejected. So really look into that one a lot more carefully. And if you're a letting agent, it also applies very much to you. So that's just a little one. And I think we might ask somebody to come and talk about that a little bit more at a future event. You may have heard about the arrears mediation scheme, which is being introduced to try and help reduce the pressure on the courts for possession. Basically, you will have the ability to go to mediation, which will allow both you and the tenant to talk about how they can pay off the arrears or move out of the property and go forward. Courts are going to look at trying to do that because obviously it's something that needs to help them. An interesting statistic that out of 7,451 evictions of an expected 28,000 actually took place in 2020, which gives you a backlog of 21,000 from last year alone, and that doesn't include what goes into the scheme today or into the system this year. So my advice would be, don't reject it, look at it. It's going to be cheaper than going to court and could well be a lot faster, even though you might not agree with letting the tenants off the hook. Something that, a little bit of a plug and builds on what Martin was talking about earlier on, with people deciding to use companies for their business, whether it be lettings, owning properties, it could be ordinary other businesses. There are more than one way to structure your shares in a business. Most people just have the one class of shares and that covers everybody and everything, but there are different ways to do it. And if you talk to a tax advisor, you'll find that quite possibly there could be more tax efficient ways of structuring your business with different classes of shares for different purposes, different people, or inheritance planning, things like that. So it's just really a suggestion. If you do use a company, then next time you're talking to your accountant, then ask the question, would I be better off doing something different with my shares? A word of warning from Scotland. Up in Scotland, a landlord who gave notice to their tenants because he wanted to move into the property, and so the tenants moved out, and then subsequently he changed his mind and didn't move in. So the tenants took him to court, and the court found that he had deceived the tenants, and that wasn't an acceptable use of a Section 21 under the terms of their legal system, and the gentleman was fined, and it was based upon the amount of the deposit. So the tenant up there, the tribunal awarded the tenant 3 times the monthly rent out of a possible 6 months rent that it could have been awarded. An interesting thing though for everybody, that whilst the tribunal noted the tenant had acted wrongfully by trashing the let property before leaving, this wasn't stated to influence the decision, and it was based purely on the landlord's actions alone. So they didn't take a ground view of, why the tenant was being asked to leave. So there's just a word of warning. If you're giving notices, try to make sure that they are factual. Reminding you that the stamp duty holiday ends on the 30th of June. It'll be interesting to see what happens with property prices in July onwards. Certainly, a lot of people are saying that property prices have been a bit higher over recent terms. And that is me sort of rushing through everything. As usual, if anybody wants to ask me anything, by all means, hang on. I will stay after the end of the presentation. All right.
Thank you very much, Bruce. That actually brings an end to all of our speakers tonight. Just leaves it to me to say thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate anyone who's hung around till the end. We will be putting this recording on YouTube, so keep an eye on Facebook and LinkedIn. And Bruce is waving at me. He wants
I was just
something.
going to say, can we also mention that we are looking to put on our next meeting, probably be the back end of June or the beginning of July, and we are going to be breaking ground yet again, because we're hoping to make it an actual meeting, because we'll be able to merge again after that time, socially distanced naturally. But at the same time, for those people who are not so keen or want to just wait a little bit longer, we're looking at also having a virtual event at the same time. So it will be a both rather than just one or the other. And it's going to be challenging. We haven't worked out how we're going to do it yet.
Yeah, Bruce, I like your, I think it's the royal use of we there, because I'm not sure how much you'll be contributing towards that technical challenge you've just set me there, Bruce. Thanks very much. Yeah, but we're going to try and do a physical and a stream while we're on all. We'll see how that pans out. So fingers crossed we'll be able to manage that. But yep, so keep an eye out on social media. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn. Also, if you've registered this evening, you will get an email just giving you the link to the YouTube, and also a reminder for the next meeting will come out as soon as the date is set. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. That's it. That is an end.